Ever felt that prickle on the back of your neck? That sudden, unexplainable chill in a perfectly warm room? Sometimes it's just your imagination. Other times, it's a warning. I want to tell you about David, a man who, like many of us, prided himself on being rational. He believed in what he could see, what he could touch, ghosts, spirits, the supernatural, just stories to tell around a campfire. That all changed one autumn evening. David had just moved into a charming old house, the kind with creaky floorboards and a history whispered in its walls. He'd spent weeks renovating, stripping back layers of faded wallpaper and sanding down old wood. His favorite project was the living room, where a beautiful antique rocking chair sat by the fireplace. He'd found it in the attic, a forgotten relic covered in a dusty sheet. After a good polish, it looked magnificent, its dark wood gleaming in the firelight. That night, a storm was brewing outside, but inside it was cozy. David was in the kitchen making tea when he heard it, a faint, rhythmic creak. He paused, listening. It was probably just the old house settling, or the wind rattling a loose window frame. He carried his mug into the living room, and that's when he saw it. The rocking chair, the one he'd so lovingly restored, was moving. Slowly, gently, it rocked back and forth, back and forth. Its motion was steady, as if someone was sitting in it, lulling a baby to sleep. David froze in the doorway, his heart thumping against his ribs. The air was perfectly still. The windows were shut tight. There was no draft, no explanation. He took a tentative step into the room. The creaking grew louder, more insistent with each rock. Creak, creak. It filled the silence of the house, a sound that was both mundane and utterly terrifying. He stared at the empty seat, his rational mind scrambling for an answer. An earthquake, a tremor. But nothing else in the room was moving. The pictures on the wall were still. The flames in the fireplace danced calmly. Only the chair moved, a solitary performer in a silent play. David's breath hitched. He called out, his voice trembling slightly, "Hello? Is anyone there?" The only answer was the relentless creak, creak, creak of the chair. He felt a wave of cold wash over him, so intense it was like stepping into a freezer. The feeling wasn't just physical, it was a deep, primal dread that settled in his bones. He knew, with a certainty that defied all logic, that he was not alone. Gathering every ounce of courage, he walked towards the chair. His plan was simple. Stop it. Just put his hand on it and make it stop. As he got closer, the creaking intensified, becoming a loud groaning sound, as if the wood itself were in agony. He reached out his hand, his fingers just inches from the polished armrest. The moment his skin was about to make contact, the chair stopped dead. The silence that followed was somehow more deafening than the noise. David stood there, hand outstretched, his body rigid with fear. He slowly lowered his arm, his eyes locked on the motionless chair. Had he imagined it all? Was he just overtired from the move? For a few minutes, nothing happened. The room was peaceful again. David let out a shaky breath, a nervous laugh escaping his lips. "Okay, David," he muttered to himself, "time for bed." He turned to leave, his back to the fireplace, and then he heard it. Not a creak this time, a sigh, a soft, weary sigh, as if from an old woman right behind him. It was so close, he felt the whisper of air on his neck. He spun around, his heart leaping into his throat. The room was empty. The chair was still, but the feeling of a presence was now overwhelming. He backed away slowly, his eyes darting around the room, searching the shadows. He didn't see anything, but he felt watched, judged. He fled the room, not even bothering to turn off the light. He barricaded himself in his bedroom, piling a dresser against the door. Sleep was impossible. All night he listened to the house. He heard the storm rage outside, but beneath it he could swear he heard the faint, rhythmic creaking start up again from the living room below. Creak, creak, an unending, ghostly lullaby. The next morning, exhausted and on edge, David decided he couldn't stay another night. He called a local historian, a woman who specialized in the town's folklore. He described the house and the rocking chair, feeling foolish as the words left his mouth. But the historian wasn't laughing. She told him a story. Decades ago, an elderly woman named Ilara had lived and died in that house. She had spent her final years confined to her favorite rocking chair by the fireplace, the very same one David had found. She had passed away peacefully in her sleep, right there in that chair. The historian added a chilling detail. "They say she never left," she said softly. "She was very particular about her chair, didn't like anyone else using it." David felt a cold dread seep into him. He remembered polishing the chair, sitting in it to test its balance, claiming it as his own. He had disturbed her. He had taken her seat. He packed a single bag, left the key on the kitchen counter, and walked out the front door without a single look back. He didn't care about the money he'd spent on the renovation or the furniture he was leaving behind. He just needed to get away. As he drove away, he glanced in his rearview mirror. Through the living room window, he could just make out the silhouette of the rocking chair by the fireplace. It was moving slowly, rhythmically, back and forth, back and forth. David's story is a chilling reminder. Sometimes, when you find an empty seat, it's not an invitation. It's a warning that the spot is already taken by someone you can't see. So, the next time you see a lone rocking chair, maybe think twice before you sit down. You never know who you might be displacing. Thanks for joining me for this unsettling tale. If you enjoy stories that blur the line between our world and the next, make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss what's coming. Stay curious and stay safe.